All right, welcome to our Cryengine 3 video set. What we're doing here is creating tutorials for the University of Utah EAE program, and it is going to be geared towards making videos and video production with Cryengine. So in this video, I'm going to go over what you need to have installed on your computer in order to get this working. Because there's some confusing SDK issues. And then we're going to go over some basic interface and controls stuff, and we're going to talk about graphics rendering and resolution and some stuff like that, and any errors we encounter along the way. So the first thing I want to start with is discerning between the two SDKs that exist for this. Number one, there is a free SDK that Crytek offers called Sandbox 3. And Sandbox 3 is available to anyone. You can download it and run it, but it has some pretty limited features because it is free. The one that I want to focus on is called Mod 2 SDK, which is a little bit confusing, but it requires a installed and licensed version of Crysis 2 on your computer, the game Crysis 2. So the first thing you want to make sure that you have up and running is an installed version of Crysis 2, and then we're ready to go and download our SDK. So the easiest way to find this is just searching in Google. If you search for Crysis Mod 2 SDK, the first link that comes up is going to take you to the official CryDev download site for this. And one of the first things you'll notice is that you do need a 64-bit operating system to run the Mod 2 SDK. You can actually run the free sandbox with just a regular 32-bit operating system, but again, the free sandbox is a lot less powerful and has a lot less assets. So that said, we would go ahead and click over here on the gear and download Mod 2 SDK. So I've already done this, of course, and what this does is it downloads a folder onto your computer called bin64. And so there's no installation of the mod SDK package needed. All it has to do is be placed in the correct directory in order to work. So once it's all downloaded, you can see in my program files under Electronic Arts and Crytek, I have Crysis 2 installed. And inside of here is where your bin64 folder needs to go. So you'll notice I already had a bin32 folder, and inside this bin64 folder is where you will find all of these SDK files. And so the main SDK file that you need is just the editor, and that's going to run your Crysis Mod 2 editor. So I have already, because it takes a little while to load on my computer, I've already loaded an instance of this editor here. And you can see I already have a sample map up and running so that I can do this demonstration. All right, so one of the first things you're going to notice is that you have this pretty standard interface, with all your regular things up here. And every computer is going to run Crysis 2 a little bit differently because it is a very graphically intense game. The interesting thing is that Mod 2 SDK actually runs pretty smoothly on computers that don't have extreme specs. And one of the ways we can kind of gauge how fast we want to run is under config spec up here. You can tell it to render at different levels. And right now, to make it run as fast as possible, I just have mine on high. And so you can see that even on high, though, the graphics look great. It's not like we're sacrificing much, So up here in your top right, you have a bunch of different information going on, including your frames per second, so you can kind of judge what you want to be running on. So the next thing I want to talk about is up here in the top right-hand corner. You will notice that there is a resolution displayed, and right now it displays some funky resolution, and this resolution is all based upon how big this window is right here. And so you'll notice if I come over here and I drag it over and resize it, it resizes the resolution actively. So this will become handy later when we want to start recording videos out of Crysis. And being able to adjust the custom resolution, so if I want to record in 720p, then I can just simply adjust this to be 1280, or you get the idea. You can adjust it to be 1280 by 720, and then when you record, it's going to record that exact resolution that you want. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is the camera and the controls inside the window. So you have pretty standard controls. You can use your arrow keys, or you can use WASD to move your camera around, and then simply right-clicking and holding with your mouse is going to allow you to look around. And it's pretty straightforward. The next thing is that down here, you can adjust the speed at which your camera moves, which becomes really helpful. So, when I'm doing, putting together a little small scene like this, and I'm dealing with objects close up, I usually set it to 0.1. And they have these little quick buttons here. You can set it to 0.1, 1, or 10. But, if I need to travel large distances with my camera really quickly, I can set it to 10 pretty easily and, go some pretty large distances pretty quickly. So that gets helpful. The next thing you're going to notice on this bar down here is that if I have an object selected, so my grand piano, for instance, if I have my grand piano selected, its position is recorded down here in X, Y, and Z. So you can do very minute adjustments of object selection with these little points here, So if you need to adjust things just barely, that's going to work pretty well.